Good afternoon, crypto enthusiasts. Today we're going to talk about another project, which is part of our playlist where we try to go through a full technical and fundamental analysis of a blockchain project. Now, in this particular case, we are going to be talking about Centrifuge CFG, the coin that is mainly for real-world asset tokenization. But before we do that, just want to remind you that our crypto blockchain channel you can find on YouTube is called Tokenomics, and we have already gone through, I would say, several of our basic videos. First of all, for fundamental analysis, then for technical analysis, where we have just completed the first part of our course of 5 videos, where you can learn the basic levels and formations to be able to use trading view charts. This is part of our special playlist, which is called the analysis of crypto coins and tokens, where we go through separate projects on a video base, and we explain more or less everything you need to know about this particular project. So far, we've done only 3, but again, this is something we are doing on the Macedonian channel extensively. We have already went through 120 separate projects with a special analysis that we have developed for ourselves, which is partly technical, partly fundamental, to actually give you a full, I would say, idea of what you need to know about a particular crypto project. Now, first of all, before we start analyzing the project, we need to determine in which category the project is. As you know, on our channel, we have 20 separate technological categories of blockchain projects. In this particular case, the project that we are going to be exploring, Centrifuge, is part of the 15th category, the real-world asset tokenization class. We have a special video, especially for real-world asset tokenization, which I would advise you to see on our channel to understand why is it so important and what you need to know about this particular, I would say, category. Now, also, before we continue with the actual exploration of the project, I would want to also remind you that we are doing this special analysis with 6 groups of questions, which need to give us a full, I would say, basic review of the project itself. Don't forget, this is not a fundamental, this is not a obviously financial advice, and everything you see here is mainly for educational purposes. By the end of this video, we're going to go through all the groups of questions, but for the purpose of the video, we are not going to answer them on a chronological level. We're going to answer them as we progress with the material itself. But we always start with the first group of questions, which is the application and practical use case of this particular coin. Are there other projects which are competing with it? And are there real-world applications that can replace it? Now, in this particular situation, there is no real-world applications and projects or software that can do tokenization. Tokenization can be done exclusively on a blockchain project. So in this particular case, this subsection is completely off. So it means that there is no competition from the outside world. However, from the inside world, we can see when we compare the groups of other projects that are doing exactly this. Before we do that, just a small reminder, the size of the project that we are currently analyzing is a micro-sized blockchain project. Everything that has less than $1 billion of market cap, we consider micro projects, and they're very, 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 I would say, dangerous. When you're investing in these particular projects, you need to be aware that the upside of this particular project or any project that is less than $1 billion in market cap is quite extensive, but as well the downside, because they have a very small amount of capital. And when there is a small amount of liquidity, like in this particular case, invested in the project, obviously that can go very fast through the window. So be careful when you're investing in small projects in crypto, because the risk is a lot larger. Now, beside that, the other projects that are actually part of this particular sector, like the top real-world asset tokenization projects, in this case, they are not all of them explicitly connected to tokenization. We can see that there are actual tokenized assets like the Tether Gold, or oracles like Chainlink, layer ones like Stellar. The idea is that if we compare the projects that are only focused on real-world asset tokenization, which is the actual RWA protocol coins, we can see that in that particular case, Centrifuge is on the 5th place of the largest coin by market cap in this category, which means he is quite high in this field. Another thing we need to, I would say, compare before we go to the second part, that's a little bit part of the tokenomics, is when this project was actually started. That's also very important because the newer the project, the bigger the risk. We can see, according to ICO drops, the initial coin offering drops, that we can practically see first actions of this project taken in the first quarter of 2018, which means the project itself is, I would say, quite mature for this field. Although there is plenty of, as you can see, strategic rounds and venture capital rounds, etc., which shows that there is a lot of backers, but in the same time, all these backers that have been giving extensive amount of money at the beginning of the project, 3.7 million invested, 4.3 million, 9.3, 8.8, etc., are money that these investors would want back when the project actually is launched and is in its phase of actually functioning. What we also seen is, when we check the investors, that there are some great names like Circle, like Gnosis, which is a very, very nice project. Additionally, we have seen other names below, like Galaxy, which is part of the DCG group, digital currency group. And obviously, it shows that there are some serious backers behind this project, which is actually a good idea. Now, very important that we need to mention is that we have a small amount of Centrifuge tokens, coins in this particular case, because Centrifuge has its own layer one. When we were part of the Polkadot parachain auction, where Centrifuge won in the second round of parachain auctions, practically the third project that won our auction. Now, in this case, obviously, this was practically 4 years ago, everybody that owned Polkadot could lock its Polkadot coins to help these projects win a special spot on the layer 0 Polkadot to be part of the ecosystem of layer 0 Polkadot blockchain. Now, in this case, Centrifuge won, and as you can see, we got, for every Polkadot coin that we have locked for 2 years for this project, around 12 Centrifuge coins. But again, it's a very small amount. It's, compared to the other part of our portfolio, insignificant. But still, just want to say that we have a very small amount of this project in our portfolio. Now, the second part that we're going to go through is the tokenomics. In this particular part, we're going to talk about the consensus. So we're going to see if there is a type of blockchain, what type of blockchain, is it a coin or a token? So as we mentioned before, yes, we're talking about a coin. Centrifuge is a blockchain that owns its own layer one, and it's a nominated or delegated proof of stake. You can call it whatever you prefer. We have already spoken what is a delegated proof of stake in our previous videos, but in the basic idea, delegated proof of stake means that there are, I would say, small amount of nodes which are functioning where investors that own this coin actually lock their coins into these validators, which the validators use as stake in the network. And for this particular reason, the validators are allowed to write blocks on the blockchain. And for every written block that they will be chosen to write, they get a reward which they share among them and the other people that have delegated their coins to this particular validator. Additionally, in this case, Centrifuge, there is a special mechanism that determines which validator, we're talking about special validator nodes, will be the next one to write a block. That way, this particular mechanism decides who will get the reward for the next block that is going to be written in the chain. If you continue forward, we can see that I barely managed to find, but this is the instructions if any one of you wants to do a centrifuge validator node. In this I would say article, you can find everything you need to know about making a node on the Centrifuge blockchain. As well, you can find the link to this particular article in the description of the video. These are the specs you need for a potential machine if you want to run a validator on the blockchain. Now, as this is a standard delegated proof of stake type of blockchain, in the standard delegated proof of stake type of blockchains, the validator nodes are the ones that are deciding on the future of the blockchain itself, because they have the rest of the coins staked on their validator node. The more coins they have, the more power they have when they are voting for a particular, I would say, decision to be made in one or the other way. Now, this was the situation with Centrifuge as well. They have their own DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, but on the 3rd of November 2025, they have decided to suspend the DAO organization. The DAO still functions, there are still decisions being made, but unfortunately, nobody is practically taking the, I would say, votings or debates on this digital organization as valid. As we can see, the DAO is still here. That's gov.centrifuge.io, where the discussions are still ongoing. I can imagine now they're using it as a forum for anybody that wants to discuss anything currently happening on the Centrifuge blockchain. But obviously, unlike the other projects, they cannot vote for how the project should progress forward. Yes, this is again confirmation from what I've been saying, that Centrifuge DAO is actually currently, I would say, out of service. If we continue forward, we can see that regarding tokenomics, now we're still in the phase of tokenomics, the blockchain has around 3% inflation rate, which means that it still on a yearly basis adds another 3% of coins. Currently in circulation, we have 577 million out of 680 million total coins that should be issued on the network. But what we also can see is this sign, which means that there will be infinite amount of coins in the future. What does that mean? Once this number reaches 680 million, later on, if they don't change this with the decision on the blockchain, the inflation will be a fixed 3% on a yearly base, which means after 680, it will continue growing for 3% every year. On the other hand, we can see that the yield, the APY on staking on this coin is around 10 to 15%. Now, this varies from what we've seen. Somewhere it's 3 to 15, somewhere it's 10 to 15, but the idea is that they are practically more or less around 10 to 15, I would say, staking rewards if you put your coins to stake from Centrifuge. Additionally, they are using two programming languages when it comes to this project. The first one that they are using is Rust, which is connected more or less to the actual substrate. This is the parachain on Polkadot. And the second that they're using is the Solidity, which comes from, in this particular case, the Ethereum, because they are compatible with the Ethereum blockchain as well. Now, when we're talking about staking CFG on Centrifuge coins, you can only do it on your Polkadot.js extension. This is the extension where people were actually investing or locking their Polkadot projects token coins to get a reward in Centrifuge. On the same portal, you can actually stake your Centrifuge coins. As I've mentioned, Polkadot.js as an extension, you need to add it to your browser. It's like a Polkadot wallet. The link to this article as well you can find in the description, where you can actually see how you can stake your Centrifuge coins. I have not seen any other option except for centralized exchanges, which we do not recommend, because if something happens to the centralized exchange, you will not be able to take your coins away. Now we're going to go a little bit to a fundamental analysis. First of all, this is the platform of Centrifuge, app.centrifuge.io, where we can see that they have already a massive amount of, I would say, capital in a tokenized version. 1.4 almost billion dollars worth of capital have been tokenized over these different funds. These are private funds that have decided they want to tokenize their assets through integrations like the Aave or Morpho or Aerodrome Finance, and it's done on the actual Centrifuge blockchain. The Centrifuge blockchain is the one that provides the tokenization. Also, we can see they have all different types of tokenization. We can see that they have these are corporate bonds. Also, they have treasury bills, bonds on America. They have collateralized loans. They have equity. So there is different types of capital goods that are currently being tokenized on Centrifuge. Now, also, we can see that they have some very nice partners in this particular case, like the Aave, the largest lending and borrowing protocol, Sky, Morpho, which are DeFi part of the blockchain, S&P Global, which, as we know, is the company behind the S&P 500 index, Coinbase, one of the biggest blockchain centralized exchanges in the world, etc., etc. So there are some great names behind this project, although the project is very small. Now, since we are in the fundamental analysis part, we're going to go through some news about this project. The first and most important is that Coinbase announced on the 5th of May 2026 will be using Centrifuge practically exclusively for tokenization. As we've seen, this is announced by Coinbase and by Centrifuge together, that Coinbase, I can imagine this is the base blockchain, which has just splitted parts with the Optimism chain, and now they want to build their own blockchain, layer 2, that's the base blockchain, will be using Centrifuge for anything they're planning to tokenize. Don't forget, Coinbase is the largest crypto exchange in America and is the largest wallet for the ETFs in America for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yes, this is also confirmed that it's not only on their webpage. Obviously, it's always better to double check. So we can see a lot of the same news on different portals that Coinbase have confirmed that Centrifuge will be the preferred network for tokenization. Also, we have practically three other news that more or less came around the time that they became the go-to blockchain for tokenization on Coinbase, which is the first one that they just got listed on Binance. This was literally, as we can see, 2 months ago. Same time, we can see other two blockchain centralized exchanges are also listing it, like in this particular case, Upbit. Obviously, Binance is the largest, but once Binance does it, everybody does it. Upbit, HTX, Binance, and we can see a lot of listings in this particular 2-3 months backwards for the same coin. This is not by mistake. This kind of blockchain centralized exchanges, they will not do this if they're not sure in the future of your project. Now, we're going to go a little bit to a technical analysis. Although don't forget that the technical analysis on this particular channel that we're currently developing in English is in infant stage. Obviously, we've just passed through only 5 of our extensive 120 videos that we'll need to do in the future for technical and fundamental analysis. But still, we are going to go through the analysis by, I would say, in a basic form. And as we progress, that analysis will become more and more complicated, but more and more, I would say, relevant. Now, in this case, what we can see a falling channel, which we can see that from 2021, as we have seen in the crypto industry, there is no altcoin bull market. So all the altcoins are currently in a bear market and still are. As we can see, we're constantly doing lower lows and lower highs. Now, in this case, obviously, we can see that every time the price have reached the upper part of the channel, it has collapsed to the down part. Again, why is this so important? Why this works? Not because the colors that we use are so nice and the other way around, is because there is psychology behind all this. There are plenty, we were talking millions of people that are following the same chart, they're following the same indicators, formations, and when they see the same moment, they know that it's time to sell. So usually these formations are actually the reason why people sell and expect the price to go down and reaccumulate again. On top of that, we can see extremely high, I would say, indicators for this part of a potential or a bear market that we are currently in. Stock RSI 91, which is oversold for 21 points upwards. RSI for 50, which again is quite high depending on where it was in the last, I would say, 5 years. And the positive part is this bullish divergence that you can see in MACD, as well as this local bottom. But again, we are still expecting that we are going to see some downward action because we are still in bear market over the Bitcoin chart. Once we have managed to change the Bitcoin chart to bullish divergence, then we can potentially talk about any other blockchain, any other coin that they have a chance for a bull market. So far, in the last 3 bull markets, we have determined that bull market is setting the tempo. Now we're going to go back to tokenomics. As we mentioned, most of the coins are already in circulation, which is a very good news. You always want as much as possible from these coins to be already on the market, because if somebody wanted to do a dump, they would have been already doing it. So, in case that they get a large amount of coins that we're going to talk in the next part. So this is very good news, I would say, for the project itself. As we have mentioned, the inflation is 3%, and it grows practically 3% the amount of coins on the market on a yearly base. So it means that it devalues the price of your investment on a yearly base by 3%. Additionally, what we need to mention is that they do have a burning mechanism, but unfortunately is not explicitly explained how this burning mechanism is used. Burning mechanism usually layer ones are using to burn part of the fees that clients are paying. In this case, everybody that wants to transact or do any kind of tokenization on Centrifuge, they need to do it by paying CFG coins. So usually they have layer ones practically burning part or all of the fee that was paid to minimize or even lower the amount of coins that are currently in circulation. Now, they mentioned that there is, but unfortunately I haven't found neither an address nor a quantity of what was burned, nor how do they burn it. But we can see, as per artificial intelligence, that there is an actual burning mechanism. If somebody managed to find it, I would really ask you to just share it with us in description, or sorry, in the comment of this video. Another thing that we have managed to find regarding tokenomics is on CoinMarketCap. On CoinMarketCap, we have managed to find, I would say, additional information about the vesting schedule of this particular coin, because again, we know that there is around 80-85% of the coins in circulation already, but we need to see if there is any left to be put in circulation. And as per the information we find for vesting, as we mentioned before, we can see that there is plenty of different programs of delivering this coin. Obviously, these are all separate ICOs, as we've seen previously in the ICO rounds. Obviously, this shows that there have been plenty of venture capitalists and angel investors in this coin. This is something that you need to have in mind. Anytime you're investing in a project, always double check this current informations, so you know how many, I would say in this case, competitors you have when we're talking about holding this coin. Why is this so important? Because you can see most of the positive part about all these venture capitalists and angel investors is that practically all of the coins that were supposed to be given to them, they already got. How do we know that? We can see that through this vesting schedule. Obviously, the vesting schedule to the day that we are currently in have already delivered all this massive amount of coins to anybody that was in any way invested in the project itself. We can see that over here are obviously for the foundation, rewards and grants, but most of them are, as we can see, backers, main sale 2, etc., etc. So if somebody wanted to dump this coin, they would have done it a long time ago. That's the positive part about this part of the analysis. Additionally, Tokenomics place where you can do the same. You can actually check particular project to see their vesting schedule. Unfortunately, for this particular project, this is the old version, so it's not going to help us, because in the meantime, there have been changes. So unfortunately, Tokenomics, we didn't find any additional information, but we did find on CoinMarketCap, which is the largest portal for on-chain metrics. If we continue forward, we can see this is also part of the fundamental analysis, that there are none so far spot ETF applications for CFG Centrifuge. Also, there is no futures as well, I've checked. So unfortunately, at this particular point regarding ETFs, there is no institutional investors directly investing in this coin, as well as we can check over here as well. This is the platform where we follow all the altcoin ETFs. There is none for Centrifuge, as well as there is no DAT. That is a digital asset treasuries where companies sometimes practically decide to invest directly in a particular project, which is very rare because it's still not clear out, I would say, with a particular law. We're still waiting on the legislation for this sector to go through. So far, regarding ETFs and digital asset treasuries, there are no institutional investors at this point. But since we've seen that there is big amount of, I would say, large players which are currently invested in using this project, I think this is just a matter of time before it happens. How do we know that? As we said, tokenized assets currently on Centrifuge. As we can see, these are all large funds of different types, which are actually using Centrifuge to tokenize different types of capital goods. Now, if we go to the real world asset rwa.xyz, the web page, we can see everything we need to know about the project and the tokenization on the project itself. We can see different companies that are using the projects for different types of capital. We can again confirm that there is 1.4 billion of tokenized assets, as we've seen previously on their web page. But again, web pages can be easily manipulated. We always need to double check this on chain. That's the best part about blockchain. It allows you to double check informations on chain. This is the first confirmation that yes, there is $1.4 billion worth of tokenized assets on this particular blockchain. Although we can see that Centrifuge is tokenizing them, unfortunately, they are not currently based on Centrifuge itself. What we can see that the largest amount of these tokenized goods are still on Ethereum as a layer 1. That's why we also saw that Centrifuge is also Ethereum virtual machine compatible, and it also uses Solidity, not for any different reason. And we can see a large amount as well on Avalanche, which is very surprising since we didn't see any previous information about any collaboration, as well as Stellar and Plume, smaller amounts. But again, unfortunately, although this is a layer 1 built on the Polkadot blockchain as a layer 0, it does not have any of these capital goods directly placed on practically it. They are actually tokenized through Centrifuge, and they are currently lying on Avalanche and Ethereum. But still, Centrifuge is used to tokenize. Also, very important is that if we compare the amount of tokenized goods on Centrifuge and the amount of tokenized goods on all the other layer 1s, we can see that currently, as per the amount of tokenized goods, we can see that Centrifuge is quite high on this list. He's somewhere around the place where Solana and Stellar are, which are one of the biggest layer 1s in the sector. Also, now we can go back to Tokenomics and we can check some metrics for this blockchain. Unfortunately, there is no information about his speed. This is a place where we can check the speed of the blockchains. Unfortunately, there is no information about the speed, but what we do have is the Polkadot. Polkadot is currently very small amount of, but don't forget that as a layer 0, it can go to, I would say, a higher speed as a transaction per second. I don't think they have any high speed right now because there is not a lot of activities in this bear market. As we can see, currently the maximum speed that Polkadot has managed to reach is 462 transactions per second, which is quite high. On the other hand, currently, as you can see, there is not a lot. Why is this important? Because at the end of the day, these layer 1s, which are built on the Polkadot blockchain, are actually transacting through the Polkadot blockchain, which means they will be the ones actually using the speed that Polkadot has in this particular case. So unfortunately, this is the place where you can actually find it. Unfortunately, on the Polkadot, it's not very fast, but it's still better than no information about this blockchain. Third place where we also confirmed that there is $1.4 billion of tokenized goods is on the DeFi Llama, which is a special application which double checks the metrics of anything connected to DeFi. Now, this also shows us that the tokenization is currently considered as decentralized finance, which is very important. And again, another confirmation that yes, there is 1.38 billion of tokenized goods. Now, since this is also considered as a finance, obviously, digital decentralized finance, 1.3 billion would put Centrifuge with this amount of tokenized capital around the 20th place, 20 to 25th place of the largest DeFi projects, as unfortunately is not here for some reason. But yes, as I said, so, yes, it's on the 30th. Sorry, my bad. Is on the 30th place. So again, not that bad. 30th largest DeFi protocol in the blockchain sphere. Not bad at all. Now, unfortunately, on Token Terminal, where we usually get a lot of the metrics of a particular blockchain, like how much revenue it does, how much fees it collects, how many active users, etc., we can see that there is practically nothing. This is the only metric which is not important for us at this particular point. So unfortunately, there is zero information on the token terminal for this blockchain. As well, we couldn't find any particular information about the activity of the developers on the blockchain. Now we can see that for Centrifuge there is nothing, CFG as well. So we do not have any information about how active the developers are on this particular blockchain. As well, unfortunately, we do not have Centrifuge. As you can see, there is nothing. And CFG, no information about how many developers are working currently on this blockchain, which is very, very disappointing, but it is what it is. Hopefully, they will fix this in the future. At the end of the day, since you are layer one, even the decentralized applications are actually showing how many developers are working on them. As a layer one, this is inexcusable, but again, unfortunately, it is what it is. We are here just to show you what we have found. When we're talking about the Arkham Intelligence, where we are finding the largest portfolios, in this particular case, which are connected to the blockchain itself, this is the largest one that we have found, and the only one, which is probably the foundation itself. But as we can see, there is practically almost nothing out of the CFG coins. There are only 2,200 CFG coins, which are worth around $500, which again, if we compare to what we have found on the coin market cap, the foundation supposed to have around 13% of the full amount of coins. So they either have wasted them for some particular reason, or they are not on this portfolio. But this is the only portfolio we could find from the Centrifuge project, which has any kind of connection to it, which is good. There is no large wallets which can dump on us. But in the same time, we always need to check the decentralization. Let's see, what do we have regarding wallets and how many are holding what amount of CFG coins. Now, we mainly use the CoinCarp, which is a very good application for this particular reason. You go to rich list for this project, and you can find, and over here we can see the richest 100 wallets on this blockchain. Unfortunately, for this particular blockchain, there is some kind of an error, and obviously we can see that this is not logical. Obviously, this is not how it's supposed to look like. So, unfortunately, for this case, is not a very well instrument. But we can find something about this information as well on CoinMarketCap, where we have managed to do so. If you scroll down, you can see several metrics about the blockchain itself. One that we have also not mentioned is how many active users there are, which is not that bad, not that good, I would say. There is a small amount of users. Currently, after all the listings, there is around 10,260 holders of CFG tokens, which is not a lot, definitely. Now, also, the top 10 coins are holding around 45% of the total amount of coins in circulation, which is not very good, let's be honest. There is 15,744,2, which is a large amount of coins as per percentage of the whole amount of coins in circulation, which would be problematic if they dump them on the market. But what we have seen, at least for this part, is that this very large amount of coins, just a moment, that we have seen, 15%, are probably the Gate.io coins, which means that these 15% are part of the Gate.io exchange, which means this is not the exchange's coins. This is just one wallet that holds all the coins of all the users of this blockchain centralized exchange. So this one is not a problem, but the rest are still quite large. But in all, this is a coin that is very small. We are currently not holding a very large bag of it, and we are planning not to do so in the near future. Obviously, we are very focused on the real world asset tokenization for the next bull market. We have currently mostly on Ondo and Canton, but definitely we're keeping Centrifuge as a potential option for the future. And as the last information we need to share with you is where you can actually find it. These are all the questions we have actually for any blockchain project to show anything we need to know about them. Yes, one more question we didn't manage to answer is the connection to criminal or civil court cases, which there are none. That's a very good information that this project is not connected to any court or criminal cases. And we can see that it's available on the largest exchanges, which is quite good. That means that it managed to get through. It managed to break through to the largest exchanges, which are very hard to do so these days. There are a lot of questions you need to answer. There are a lot of showcases you need to do about the legitimacy of your project. So it's quite hard to do so. And when you are listed on Coinbase and Binance, it means that you have proven yourself worthy, at least for the most part. Now, this is everything you need to know about CFG. I hope that you enjoyed your video. Obviously, we're going to continue with the education so far as we have done so, and there is a lot more education coming your way. Now, anything I would ask is, if you don't mind, just subscribe, like our video, share it if you have enjoyed it, and as well our social media, where we are posting a lot more education depending on what we are working at the moment. I hope that you enjoyed. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day from the warm Malta and the first channel for fundamental and technical analysis in